Then getting Amy, Ethan, Ryan, Chelsea. And let's see, how many more are there? And we haven't counted the rest of them. But the rest of you, oh, hello. It's Grandpa and Grandma way over here in England. You know, the other day Grandma was downtown and she saw some little stories, and she thought that some of the kids over there in America should have a story. But these stories are too old for Aiden and Jenny and Amy and Ethan. And so this will have to be just for Ryan and Chelsea. So you other guys, Aiden, you go out and get on top of the house and bring down that, what was that? That the wind blew off one night and the dog ate up the next morning? What in the world kind of a dog do you guys have over there? I'd sure get rid of that thing. Okay, this story is about a little boy that moves over here in England. Are you ready, Chelsea? Okay. Listen to the story, Ryan and Ethan and Amy and Denny and Aiden. Dick Whittington and his cat. Once upon a time there was a poor boy who was called Dick Whittington. His mother and father were dead, and he had no one to care for him. Dick lived in a small village in the country. He tried to work for his living, but he could not always find work to do. Dick was very poor. His clothes were thin and ragged, and sometimes he had very little to eat. In those days, people did not often travel far from the village in which they lived. Dick's village was a long way from London. When the village people talked of London, they spoke of it as a wonderful place. They said that all the people in the city of London were rich, just like they are over in Emmett, Idaho. They even said that the streets of London were paved with gold, just like they are up around that Waite place up on the hill. Dick listened to these tales, and he longed to go to London. Dick thought that if he went to London, he would be able to pick up gold from the streets, just like you kids do from your driveway. Then he would become rich and need never feel cold or hungry again. Dick made up his mind to go to London, although he had no idea how far it was. He made his few clothes into a bundle and tied the bundle to the end of his stick. Then he set off to walk along the road to London. Dick walked a long way, but he did not reach London. Just as he was beginning to feel very tired, a hay cart came along the road. The cart was pulled by big horses and driven by a kind-faced man. The driver stopped the cart and said to Dick, "Where are you going, my lad?" "I'm going to London, sir," replied Dick. "Then jump up beside me," said the driver, "and I'll take you to London." When they drove into the city of London, Dick gazed about him in wonder. First, he was surprised to see how many people there were in the streets. He had never seen so many people before in all his life. Then he was amazed to see all the fine churches, shops, and houses. When Dick had got over his first wonderment, he began to look for the streets that were paved with gold, just like those up in Emmett, Idaho. But nowhere could he find them in London. It grew dark, and Dick was tired and hungry. He had nowhere to sleep, so he curled up in the doorway and went to sleep there. Next morning, Dick tried to find work for himself. He walked along street after street, asking people for work, but no one had a job to offer him. When night came, Dick was so weak from hunger and tiredness that he sank down on the nearest doorstep. Now it happened that this house belonged to a rich man named Mr. Fitzwarren. He was a merchant who had made his money by selling things to people in other countries. Mr. Fitzwarren's cook found Dick on the doorstep and was angry. "You lazy boy," she cried. "What are you doing there? Get up on my master's doorstep." Poor Dick tried to rise, but he was too weak. At that very moment, Mr. Fitzwarren himself arrived home. Mr. Fitzwarren was a kind-hearted man. He spoke gently to Dick and listened to his story. "If it's work you want," he said, "you can work in my house for my cook. You'll have plenty to eat and a bed to sleep in." Mr. Fitzwarren then told his cook to take Dick in, feed him, and find him fresh clothes. Dick was so happy that he could hardly find words with which to thank Mr. Fitzwarren. Dick's happiness did not last long. He soon found that the cook was an unkind woman. She was always scolding him, and sometimes she used to beat him. Mr. Fitzwarren had a daughter named Alice. She was kind like her father, and she knew that the cook was cruel to Dick. Alice took pity on Dick and forbade the cook to hit him. This made things easier for Dick, although he still had to work very hard. Dick's bed was in a cold attic at the top of the house. This attic was overrun with rats and mice, and at night as Dick tried to sleep, the rats and mice ran over his bed. He could not rest. "If only I had a cat," thought Dick. "She would be a friend to me, and she would take away the rats and mice." But all the money that Dick had in the world was one little. Next day, Dick went to the market with his penny in his pocket. There he saw a woman holding a cat in her arms. "Please, will you sell me your cat?" Dick asked the woman. "I'm not sure that I want to sell her," said the woman. "She's a grand cat for catching mice." "That's just what I need," said Dick. Then he pleaded so hard that at last the woman agreed to sell him the cat for a penny. From that day, Dick's life became happier. He loved his cat, looked upon her as his friend. At night he slept well because his cat chased away all the rats and mice. Now Mr. Fitzwarren had many ships that sailed to distant lands. Whenever a ship sailed, Mr. Fitzwarren let everyone go out, send something with the captain. These things were sold for good prices in other countries. In this way, everyone had a chance to make extra money for himself. One day, Mr. Fitzwarren called all the servants together, and he told them that a ship was ready to sail. Everyone except Dick had something to sell. "Do you not want to send something on my ship?" asked Mr. Fitzwarren. "I have nothing in the world except my cat," replied Dick. "Then you must send your cat," said Alice. Poor Dick did not really want to part with his cat, but in Dallas he agreed at last. The cook made fun of Dick, saying, "Who ever heard of sending a cat on the foreign ship? What you?" Dick missed it out, wished he had never sent her away. Once more he could not sleep at night because of the money under his bed. Dick was so unhappy that he made up his mind to run away. Early one morning he crept out of the house before anyone was awake. He had not gone far when the bells of both churches began to ring. The bells seemed to be singing to dinner. "Turn away, Whittington, Lord Mayor, blunder. Turn again, Whittington, is Mayor of London." "If I am to be Lord Mayor of London," thought Dick, "I will turn again." So before anyone missed him, he turned Mr. Fitzwarren's house and let himself in. Meanwhile, on the ship, Dick's cat was making herself very. The ship was overrun with rats and mice. Dick's cat was a fine rat home. She soon killed hundreds of them. In many weeks, the ship came to a foreign country. The captain sent to the king of the country, if he wanted to buy some of the things from the ship. The king then invited the captain to come to the palace. A wonderful meal was prepared for the king and queen and the captain. Many servants came with on gold and silver dishes set it in front of them. But before anyone could take a bite, you know what? Hundreds of lads rushed into the room. The servants tried to drive them back with big sticks, but it was no use. In no time at all, the rats had eaten all the gold and silver dishes. Captain was astonished at the sight. He turned to the king and asked, "Why do you put up with these rats, your majesty?" "There is nothing we can do about it," replied the king. "Every time we sit down to food, it is the same. My wise men have tried to make spells, but they have not managed to get rid of the rats." "Then why don't you have a cat?" asked the captain. "A cat?" said the queen. "What is a cat?" So the captain described it. Then the king and queen told him that there was no such animal in all the country. "I would give to have a cat," cried the king. "What would you?" asked the captain. "I have a cat on board my ship." "I would give half my kingdom," replied the king. The captain went back and picked up Dick's cat and returned to the palace. He arrived just as a meal was the rats were beginning to eat food on the gold and silver dishes. The captain jumped on the captain's arms. Dozens of rats, and the rest blended. The king and queen were delighted. "Oh, Captain, we must have that," cried the queen. The king moved my next cat to see what else the captain had for sale. The sailors came to the queen's palace all the good without. The king and queen bought everything. For Dick's cat, 10 times as much as he had paid for all the other things put together. He gave the captain a full of gold and jewels in exchange for them. And when the ship got, the captain went straight to Mr. Fitzwarren and told him the good news. Mr. Pitt was glad to learn that all the goods on the ship had been sold for much money. He was pleased that Dick's cat had made him a fortune. Fitzwarren sent a servant to the "Ask Mr. Whittington to this." Dick thought the servant was making fun of him. Mr. Fitzwarren handed Dick the cat. "You're a very rich man, Mr. Whittington," he said. "The cat has made your fortune." Dick could hardly believe this good news. Mr. Fitzwarren and the cat told his heart. Miss Alice was very happy. Dick's good fortune. "You must buy yourself a new clothes," he said. Dick did so, and very smart he looked in his new clothes. Dick was not a very wealthy man. When he asked Mr. Fitzwarren if he could marry his daughter Alice, the Fitzwarren was glad to give his consent. Some year, Dick became Lord Mayor of London. He was Lord Mayor of London 3, so the Bow Bells had been right to him. Turn Whittington, Lord London, turn again, Whittington, nice Mayor, London. Grandma wonders where that isn't the same as the one that was before, but this was a long time later, so he had a different tune. Well, so much for Dick Whittington. It's just too bad we have run out of a story. Let's see, here's one for Aidan. This one put a new one. Well, maybe, but it's too old for Amy and for the other kids, Ethan and Ryan and Chelsea. Maybe Chelsea will understand it, but the others won't. And this car is the Sly Fox hens. There was a little red hen. She lived all by herself in the woods. Near the little red hen, there lived a Loyn Fox. He didn't himself. He lived with his mother in the den. Fox wanted to eat the little red hen. He made all sorts of plans to catch her. He called me many times to catch her, but she was a wise little hen. Not one of the Sly Fox's plans worked. He grew quite thin trying to catch the little red hen. One day the sly young fox said to his mother, "Today I will catch the little red hen. I have made the best plan of all." He picked up a bag and slung it over his back. "I shall put in this bag," he said to him. "Put on a pot of water on the fire to boil. We shall have in for our dinner." In fly young pot, the little red hen's house. Up by the side of the house, he waved him. And soon the little red hen came out of her little house. "Oh, see the sly young fox." She began to pick up sticks for her fire, and the little red hen opened the door of the house. Oh, never leave the door of a house open when you go out, because something might happen. And when her back was turned, my young fox inside the house. The sly young fox hid behind the door. Oh, man! She carried her house, and she shut the door. Oh, then she saw the sly young and frightened the poor little hen almost to death. Dropped her wood before the fox could mean. He flew up to a high tree, way up nearly to the ceiling. And this was up so high that the fox was able to reach her. On the high beam, the little red hen felt safe. She knew that the sly young fox could not get up there. "Oh, why, you can't catch me, Mr. Fox," she said. "You had better go home." "Oh, so you don't think I can catch you, huh?" said the sly young fox. "We'll feed that." One young fox did. Just exactly. The sly young fox would taste his tail. When hen looked down from her beam and what she shouldn't have done. Went the sly young fox round and round without stopping. Turned soon. Yeah. Soon the little red hen began to go. And round and round and round. So dizzy, the little one. Yeah. She fell down from the high beam. Never watch a fox's tail open and round, because it'll make you dizzy. The little red hen dropped into his bag. "Said I could not catch you." The sly young fox set off for his dared one winged fox. for a rest. It was a hot day, and soon, just like ending up and going perfect for his dad. Yep. Well, when the fox ate a candy, the little red hen popped up. She crept quietly out. The little red hen then stones. And she put the stones into the bag, and then she ran as fast as she could go. And when the little young blind fox awoke, he did not know what had happened. He picked up and there. Dear, this bag is becoming heavier. Then a sly young fox came to his den. He shouted to his mother, "I've got the little red hen at last. Is the water boiling?" "Yes, my sir," said his young fox. Opened the bag over the pot of boiling water. And do you know? Yeah, Amy knows. Amy said so just right. And fell into the water, lifting then being dead. The boiling water splashed all over the sly young fox and his mother. And do you know, they were both killed at once. Then the little red hen lived happily ever after in her little house in the woods. And so that is a pretty good story, isn't it, Ryan? It's a story about a little red hen that was too wise for the wise old sly fox. Well, now let's see. What else can we read? I don't know. We should be able to find something. Here is something that maybe we'll be able to read. And this is for Chelsea. Okay, are you ready, Chelsea? 3 blind mice. See how they run. They all ran after the farmer's wife. She cut off their tails with a carving knife. Did you ever see such a thing in your life as 3 blind mice? Now let's see. Curly locks, wilt thou be mine? Thou shalt not wash dishes, nor yet feed the swine, but sit on a cushion and sew a fine seam, and feed upon strawberries, sugar, and cream. The man in the moon came down too soon and asked his way to Norwich. He went by the south and burned his mouth with eating cold plum porridge. Did you ever get burned on cold plum porridge? Tom, he was a piper's son. He learned to play when he was young, but all the tune that he could play was over the hill and far away, over the hills and the great way off, the wind will blow my topknot off. Tom with his pipe made such a noise that he pleased both the girls and boys, and they all stopped to hear him play over the hill and far away. Cross patch, draw the latch, sit by the fire and spin, take a cup and drink it up. Then call your neighbors in. There was an old woman tossed up in a basket, 17 times as high as the moon. Where she was going I couldn't but ask her, for in her hand she carried a broom. Old woman, old woman, old woman, quoth I, where are you going to up so high? To brush the cobwebs off the sky. May I go with you? Yes. By and by. Higgledy-piggledy, my black hen. She lays eggs for gentlemen, sometimes 9 and sometimes 10. Higgledy-piggledy, my black hen. Oh, the grand old Duke of York had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again. And when they were up, they were up. And when they were down, they were down. And when they were only halfway up, do you know what? Yeah, they were neither up nor down. Oh, let's see. I do not like thee, Dr. Fell. The reason why I cannot tell. But this I know full well. I do not like thee, Dr. Fell. Is this what Ryan says when he goes to the doctor? Come, let's to bed, says Sleepyhead. Tarry a while, says Slow. Put on the pan, says Greedy Nan. Let's sup before we go. Now, let's see. 2 legs sat upon 3 legs, with 1 leg in his lap. In comes 4 legs, and runs away with 1 leg. Up jumps 2 legs, catches up 3 legs, throws it after 4 legs, and make him bring back 1 leg. Well, I wonder what in the world all this is about. Well, it's a man with 2 legs that sits on a stool with 3 legs that has a dog with 4 legs that's running away with a leg, 1 leg bone. And so, legs everywhere. Bobby Shafto's gone to sea, silver buckled on his knee. He'll come back and marry me, bonny Bobby Shafto. Bobby Shafto's fat and fair, cooling down his yellow hair. He's my love for evermore, bonny Bobby Shafto. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. And all for the want of a horseshoe nail. Well, that was hard luck, wasn't it? My goodness alive. Now, Simple Simon met a pieman going to the fair. Says Simple Simon to the pieman, "Let me taste your ware." Says the pieman to Simple Simon, "Show me first your penny." Says Simple Simon to the pieman, "Indeed, I have not any." Simple Simon went a-fishing for to catch a whale. All the water he had got was in his mother's pail. Simple Simon went to look if plums grew on a thistle. He pricked his finger very much, which made poor Simon whistle. Fiddle-dee-dee, fiddle-dee-dee, the fly shall marry the bumblebee. They went to the church, and married was she. The fly has married the bumblebee. Rub-a-dub-dub, 3 men in a tub, and how do you think they got there? The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, they all jumped out of a rotten potato. 'Twas enough to make a man dead. Well, it's a funny one. Seeing you sewing your sixpence, a pocket full of rye, 24 blackbirds baked in the pie. When the pie was opened, the birds began to sing. Now, wasn't that a dainty dish to set before the king? The king was in his counting-house counting out his money. The queen was in the parlor eating bread and honey. The maid was in the garden hanging up the clothes, when down came a blackbird. And, you know what? Yeah? Pecked off her nose. As I was going to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives, and each wife had 7 sacks, each sack had 7 cats, each cat had 7 kits, cats, sacks, and wives. How many were going to St. Ives? Hey, don't you tell Jenny, because Jenny isn't smart enough to understand. I saw a ship a-sailing on the sea, and oh, but it was laden with pretty things for me. There were comforts in the cabin and apples in the hold. The sails were made of silk, and the masts were made of gold. The 24 sailors who stood upon the deck were 24 white mice with chains about their neck. The captain was a duck, with a packet on his back. And when the ship began to move, the captain cried, "What? What?" Well, I don't know how much more